I've decided to start a new life without you." The words hung in the air of the upscale restaurant where we'd gathered to celebrate our daughter's college graduation. My husband of 28 years stood with his champagne glass still raised, his announcement replacing the toast he was supposed to be making to her achievements. The clinking of silverware stopped. Conversations halted mid-sentence. 50 pairs of eyes darted between us, waiting for my reaction, for the tears, the shouting, the dramatic exit everyone expected. Instead, I smiled. "Congratulations on your honesty. I'm 54 years old, and until that moment, I had played the role of the devoted wife and mother perfectly. I put my own career aspirations on hold to support him through 3 business ventures, 2 career changes, and countless finding himself phases. I raised our brilliant daughter, who sat beside me now, her graduation cap still perched on her head, her expression frozen in horror. From the corner of my eye, I could see his much younger girlfriend shifting uncomfortably at the back table, where she sat with people I had considered friends for decades. The same friends who apparently knew about the affair but never thought to tell me. The same woman who had attended our Christmas parties. Who had once called me for advice about her career. With practiced calm, I reached into my handbag and pulled out a sealed, cream-colored envelope. I placed it gently beside his plate. "What's this?" he asked, his triumphant expression faltering. "Something for you to read later," I replied, keeping my voice steady. I turned to our daughter, whose face had gone pale. I kissed her cheek. "I am so proud of you, sweetheart. This day is still about your accomplishment." Then I stood, smoothed my dress, and addressed our stunned guests. "Please enjoy your meal. I wish you all a lovely afternoon." With that, I walked out of the restaurant, my head held high, feeling 50 pairs of eyes following me. The heavy door swung shut behind me, cutting off the beginning of anxious murmurs. Outside, the Augusta summer heat hit me like a wall, but I welcomed it. For the first time in years, I could breathe freely. Behind me, I heard the restaurant door open and slam shut, followed by his voice, no longer confident, but high-pitched and frantic. "What the hell is this? What have you done?" I kept walking, allowing myself a small smile. The envelope I had handed him contained the beginning of my revenge, one I had been meticulously planning for months. I had always been the practical one in our marriage. While he dreamed big and took risks, I maintained the stability our family needed. I was the one who saved for our daughter's education when he invested unwisely in his friend's restaurant venture. I was the one who worked extra hours as a finance manager when his midlife crisis led him to quit his stable job to follow his passion, selling handcrafted furniture. A passion that lasted approximately 6 months before he grew bored. My own dreams, opening a financial consultancy for women, were perpetually on hold. After she graduates, I told myself. After he finds stability. 3 months ago, I noticed discrepancies in our joint accounts. Small transfers to an account I didn't recognize. Having spent 20 years managing our family's finances, these irregularities stood out like red flags. I could have confronted him immediately, but something held me back. Perhaps it was intuition. Or perhaps it was the growing distance between us over the past year. Instead, I began quietly investigating. What I discovered was worse than I imagined. He had been systematically moving funds to a separate account for over a year. He had also been taking her to expensive restaurants, purchasing jewelry, and looking at beachfront property, all while telling me we needed to tighten our belts for retirement. Then came the text messages I discovered when he left his phone unlocked. Messages about their new life together. Messages about how he was finally breaking free. Messages about their plans for the day after our daughter's graduation. The day he had chosen to make his grand exit from our marriage. What he had forgotten, or perhaps never fully grasped, was that I had been a financial professional for 30 years. I understood money trails. I knew how to trace assets. And most importantly, I remembered the prenuptial agreement we signed 28 years ago when I had more family money than he did. The agreement he had insisted upon, ironically, to protect his future earnings, contained a fidelity clause that would prove to be his undoing. While he plotted his escape with her, I was building my case. I consulted with attorneys. I documented every hidden transfer. I gathered evidence of their affair. I prepared divorce papers. I timed everything perfectly, knowing he would want to wait until after graduation to avoid ruining her big day. What he didn't expect was that I would serve the divorce papers the morning of the graduation, before his planned announcement. But with the papers still safely hidden in court records, not yet accessible to him. What he didn't know was that I was always 3 steps ahead. I didn't return to the restaurant. Instead, I drove to our home, a spacious colonial in Augusta's historic district that we had purchased 15 years ago. The house he had already promised to her, according to text messages he didn't realize I had seen. I parked in the driveway and calmly entered what had been our shared space for over a decade. Everything looked the same. The family photos on the walls. The antique grandfather clock that had been my father's. The worn leather couch where we had once dreamed of our future together. Yet everything had changed. I went upstairs to the master bedroom and opened the closet. His clothing was already packed in suitcases, hidden in the back, ready for his planned departure tomorrow. I smiled at his predictability. He had always been meticulous about clothing, but careless about the important things. My phone buzzed incessantly, with messages from friends at the restaurant, from our daughter, even from his sister who had flown in for the graduation. I responded only to my daughter. "I'm okay. This isn't your burden to carry. Enjoy your graduation day. We'll talk tonight. I love you." I had protected her from the truth for months, not wanting to overshadow her final semester with family drama. She would be angry that I hadn't told her. But I knew she would understand, eventually. She had inherited my practicality, along with his charisma. A powerful combination that had helped her graduate with honors. 3 hours later, I heard his car in the driveway. The front door slammed open. "Where are you?" he shouted, his voice echoing through the house. I was sitting in the living room, calmly reviewing documents on my laptop. I closed it as he stormed in, his face flushed with anger, the envelope clutched in his hand. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded, waving the papers. "You served me with divorce papers, today of all days." "I thought it aligned nicely with your plans," I replied calmly. "You wanted to start your new life. I'm simply helping facilitate the transition." "You had no right to every right," I interrupted, my voice steady, "just as you had every right to choose her. We all make choices." "You know the prenup expired years ago," he said, his voice suddenly smug. I allowed myself a small smile. "Actually, it didn't. Section 12 specifically states that the fidelity clause remains in effect for the duration of the marriage. Your lawyer should have explained that to you." "Oh wait, you didn't consult one, did you?" The color drained from his face as reality sank in. The prenup he had insisted upon to protect his potential wealth would now cost him everything. The house, the vacation property in Savannah, his portion of our retirement accounts. His grand gesture at the restaurant had just become the most expensive announcement of his life. "You can't do this to me," he said, collapsing onto the couch. "We built this life together, and you chose to end it," I replied. "Though not in the way you planned." His phone buzzed persistently in his pocket. He glanced at it, then ignored it. She was no doubt wondering where he was and why he wasn't following their carefully orchestrated plan. "You've always been calculating," he said, trying a different approach. "But this is cold. What about our history? 28 years together means nothing." I studied him. This man I had loved for nearly 3 decades. The man who had held my hand through 2 miscarriages before we had our daughter. The man who had once surprised me with a weekend trip to Charleston for our 10th anniversary. When had he changed, or had he always been this person, and I had been too devoted to notice? "Our history meant everything to me," I answered truthfully. "That's why your betrayal hurt so deeply." His expression softened momentarily, perhaps seeing an opening. "Then maybe we can fix this. I made a mistake. People make mistakes." "This wasn't a mistake," I said. "This was a calculated plan spanning more than a year. You systematically moved our money. You looked at property with her. You planned to announce our separation publicly to humiliate me." His face hardened again. "You're exaggerating." "Am I?" I picked up my phone, opened the recording app, and played his own voice. "After the graduation, I'll tell her it's over. A public setting is better. She won't make a scene in front of everyone." Then her voice. "And she has no idea about the money." Then his again. "None. She trusts me completely. That's her weakness." The blood drained from his face. "You recorded our conversations? That's illegal." "Not in Georgia, when one party consents," I responded. "And not when it's in your own home. I didn't record your private moments with her. I'm not cruel. Just the conversations about your plans to defraud me." He stood, suddenly agitated. I need to make some calls. Of course, I said. Your attorney might be a good start. I'll be staying at my sister's tonight. My sister's? He sputtered. I nodded. She's quite upset with you, actually. She was the one who first spotted you two together last Christmas. She didn't tell me immediately. She confronted you first. You promised her it was nothing. That you would end it. When she realized you hadn't, she came to me. This was another blow he hadn't anticipated. My sister and I had always been close, but he never imagined his own sister would choose my side. Everyone's betraying me, he muttered. Ironic, isn't it? I gathered my purse and a small overnight bag I had packed earlier. You have until tomorrow evening to remove your things from the house. After that, the locks will be changed. As I headed toward the door, he called after me, desperation in his voice. What about our daughter? Have you thought about how this affects her? I paused, anger finally breaking through my calm facade. Don't you dare use her as a shield. You certainly weren't thinking about her when you were planning your new beachfront life with your mistress. His phone buzzed again. This time he looked at it and groaned. Problem? I asked. She's at the apartment already. She's moved her things in. I couldn't help but smile. The apartment you put in both your names? The lease you signed last month? He nodded, looking confused. You might want to check with the leasing office. That application was flagged for credit issues and never completed. The agent called our home phone to verify information. I handled it myself. I walked out the door, leaving him to face the first of many consequences. His perfectly planned new life was unraveling faster than he could process. My sister lived in a charming bungalow across town, close to the university where she taught literature. When I arrived, she greeted me with a fierce hug. I just heard from her, she said, pulling me inside. Are you okay? I'm better than I expected, I admitted, following her to the kitchen where a bottle of wine was already open. I never thought he would make such a spectacle, she said, pouring 2 glasses. The restaurant? In front of everyone? He's lost his mind. It was meant to humiliate me, I explained, accepting the glass. A public rejection, so I couldn't fight back without looking hysterical. Her face darkened. He always did have a flair for drama, but this is beyond anything I expected from him. We settled in her sunroom, surrounded by potted plants and bookshelves. She had never married, preferring her independence and academic pursuits. Over the years, I had sometimes envied her freedom. What did you put in that envelope that made him so upset? She asked. I explained the contents, the divorce filing, the evidence of his financial deception, and most importantly, the prenuptial agreement that would leave him with far less than he had planned. The prenup, she mused. I remember when he insisted on it. Dad had just given him that money for his first business and he was so worried about protecting it. She laughed bitterly. The irony is delicious. My phone rang. It was her. I took a deep breath before answering. Mom, she said immediately, her voice strained. I'm coming over to Auntie's. Honey, you don't have to. I'm already on my way, she interrupted. He's telling everyone you've lost your mind. That you've been planning this for months. He's saying horrible things. Of course he was. He always rewrote narratives to cast himself as the victim. Let him talk, I said. The truth will become clear soon enough. 20 minutes later, she arrived, still in her graduation dress but with her makeup smudged from crying. She fell into my arms like she used to as a child after a nightmare. Why didn't you tell me? She asked, her voice muffled against my shoulder. I didn't want to ruin your final semester, I explained. You worked so hard for this day. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. Well, he took care of ruining it anyway. We moved to the living room. She finally got the full story, how I had discovered the affair, the financial lies, and the secret plans they had made together. I knew something was off with him, she admitted. He's been different. Distracted. Always on his phone. But I never imagined. None of us want to see these things in people we love, someone said gently. My phone buzzed. It was a message from my attorney. The emergency filing had gone through. The accounts I identified were now frozen, at least until the divorce proceedings. He now had limited access to funds, just enough for basic needs, but not enough to buy property with her like they'd planned. I showed the message to them. Good, she said firmly. He deserves it. Her loyalty warmed me, but I wasn't naive. He's still your father, I reminded her. Your relationship with him is separate from what's happening between us. She shook her head. Maybe someday. But right now, I can't even look at him. He hugged me this morning and told me how proud he was, all while planning to blow up our family hours later. The doorbell rang. Our conversation came to a halt. Someone went to answer it, then came back with a troubled look. It's him, she said. And he's not alone. I braced myself as she led them into the living room. The other woman looked uncomfortable, shifting her weight, eyes darting around like she didn't want to be there. She was younger than me by 17 years, with shoulder-length blonde hair and that kind of fake confidence that comes from never facing real hardship. He, on the other hand, looked angry, his earlier desperation now hardened into rage. You need to stop this madness, he barked at me. Unfreeze the accounts. We can talk like adults. Our daughter stood up, subtly placing herself between us. Maybe you should have tried acting like an adult before announcing to everyone that you were leaving her, she snapped. His eyes widened as if just noticing her for the first time. This doesn't involve you, he said. Doesn't involve me, she repeated, her voice rising. You blew up our family on my graduation day, and it doesn't involve me. The other woman touched his arm. Maybe we should go. He shook her off. No. I'm not leaving until she agrees to be reasonable about this. Someone else in the room folded her arms and said, the only reasonable person here seems to be her. You created this mess. I stayed seated, just watching. For years, I was the one who kept the peace, smoothed things over, made sure everyone else was okay. That role had drained me, and I had finally let it go. The accounts will stay frozen until the preliminary hearing, I said calmly. It's in 3 days. The judge will determine everything then. 3 days, he sputtered. What am I supposed to do until then? You have your personal account, I reminded him. The one you've been funneling money into for the past year. That should be enough. The other woman's head turned sharply toward him. You have a separate account. With how much in it? Clearly, he hadn't told her everything either. He ignored her question. This is petty. This isn't like you. Maybe you never really knew me, I replied. Just like I clearly never really knew you. Our daughter turned to the other woman. Did you know he was going to announce it like that? At my graduation celebration? She looked genuinely ashamed. I thought he was going to talk to your mom privately. The announcement today. I didn't expect that. He glared at her, already cracks showing in their supposedly united front. I think you both should leave, someone said firmly. She's been through enough today. Please, he said, turning to our daughter. You understand that relationships change, right? Sometimes people grow apart. Her face hardened in a way I had never seen before. What I understand is that you're a coward who couldn't even give her the respect of a private conversation. What I understand is that you were stealing from our family while I was working 2 jobs to help pay for my textbooks because you said money was tight. That's not how it was, he began. It's exactly how it was, she cut him off. Please leave. I can't look at you right now. The silence that followed was brutal. Finally, he turned and walked out, the other woman trailing behind him. At the door, he paused and looked back at me. This isn't over, he said. I'll fight you on this. I met his gaze. You're welcome to try. After they left, she collapsed next to me on the couch, tears running down her face. I've never talked to him like that, she whispered. I wrapped my arm around her. Sometimes standing up for what's right hurts, I said. Someone brought over fresh glasses of wine. To new beginnings, she said, raising hers. Indeed, I thought. This wasn't an ending. This was just the beginning of something new. The preliminary hearing took place in a small courtroom on a rainy Tuesday morning. I showed up with my attorney. He showed up with someone he had hired last minute, a young lawyer from a firm that normally handled corporate law, not family matters. His poor planning was showing. The judge, a sharp-eyed older woman with zero tolerance for nonsense, reviewed the prenup carefully. This document appears to be in order, she said, peering over her glasses. Do you contest its validity? His lawyer cleared his throat. Your Honor, we believe the agreement has expired due to the length of time that has passed. Section 18 clearly states that the duration is for the length of the marriage plus any legal proceedings related to the divorce, she read aloud. There is no expiration date. He leaned forward to whisper urgently to his lawyer, who was starting to sweat. And the evidence of systematic fund transfers violates the financial disclosure requirements in Section 23, the judge added. She shuffled through more documents, then looked up. I am ruling to maintain the freeze on joint accounts pending full financial discovery. His personal account will remain accessible. The family home will remain in her possession as stated in the infidelity clause of the prenup. His face turned deep red. This is outrageous, he muttered. The judge fixed him with a hard look. I suggest you read the agreement you signed more carefully. Court will reconvene in 30 days. As I walked out of the courtroom, he caught up to me in the hallway. Please, he said. Can't we talk about this reasonably? 28 years together has to mean something. It meant everything, I replied. Until you decided it didn't. Then I walked away, leaving him standing there in that cold courthouse hallway, the weight of his choices finally catching up to him. Word spread quickly. Friends started calling, some with support, some just wanting gossip. I didn't give them much. We're separating, I said simply. These things happen. Meanwhile, his carefully built image was falling apart. The successful businessman, the devoted family man, that mask was gone now. And all that was left behind it was just him. The financial freeze meant he couldn't follow through on promises made to her. The beachfront property they had been planning to purchase fell through. The luxury car he had put a deposit on had to be cancelled. 2 weeks after the hearing, my sister called me, her voice tinged with amusement. Have you heard the latest? She moved out already. I wasn't entirely surprised, but the speed was impressive. Apparently, she discovered that his business isn't doing as well as he claimed. The substantial savings he talked about don't exist. She told a friend that she didn't sign up to date a man with financial problems. I couldn't help but laugh. He always was good at creating illusions. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding. The financial security I had always maintained separate from our joint accounts gave me freedom he hadn't anticipated. I rented a small office space downtown and began setting up the consultancy I had dreamed about for years. My first clients were 2 women going through divorces of their own. Word of mouth brought more. I specialized in helping women understand their finances during major life transitions, divorces, widowhood, career changes. The work was immediately fulfilling in a way my corporate job never had been. My daughter, who had accepted a job with a marketing firm in Charleston, called me regularly. I'm so proud of you, Mom, she told me after I described my growing client list. You're helping people during their worst moments. I'm just doing what I wish someone had done for me earlier, I replied. Preparing women for whatever might come, being needed for my expertise rather than my caregiving, was a novel and empowering experience. The final divorce hearing fell on what would have been our 29th anniversary, a fitting end to a chapter of my life that had lasted nearly 3 decades. He arrived looking haggard. I later learned that his business was struggling without my financial support and guidance. She was long gone, already dating a real estate developer from Savannah. Most of our mutual friends had distanced themselves from him after learning the full story of his deception. The judge upheld the prenuptial agreement in its entirety. He left with his personal possessions, his struggling business, and the money in his private account, which, after paying his attorney, was barely enough to secure a small apartment. I retained our home, my retirement accounts, and 70% of our joint investments, exactly as the prenuptial agreement stipulated in cases of infidelity. The justice was poetic. The very document he had insisted upon to protect himself had become his downfall. As we left the courtroom, he approached me one last time. I made a terrible mistake, he said quietly. Is there any chance we could? No, I interrupted, gentle but firm. That door is closed. I understand, he replied. And for once, I believed he did. I hope you find happiness. You deserve it. It was perhaps the first honest thing he had said to me in years. 6 months later, my consultancy was thriving. I had moved from the small office to a larger space and hired 2 associates. I specialized in helping women secure their financial futures, particularly through major life changes. My daughter visited often, proud of what I had built. You know what's ironic? She said during one visit. If he had just been honest from the beginning, he might have kept half of everything. Sometimes people can't see beyond what they want in the moment, I replied. The woman who had once defined herself as his wife and her mother had discovered a new identity: mentor, business owner, and advocate. The envelope I had handed him at the restaurant hadn't just been my escape plan. It had been the key to a door I never knew existed. Behind it, I found not just revenge, but reinvention. In securing my financial future, I had also reclaimed something far more valuable: myself. And that's how a woman who once felt lost in someone else's shadow found her power, her purpose, and, most importantly, herself. If this story resonated with you, or if you've ever had to rebuild after betrayal, let us know in the comments. We read every single one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. See you in the next one.